stopping unwanted sediment in the sediment basins, assessing the locations and amount of trash and unwanted sediment. We've already got a study underway of that, and removing the trash and unwanted sediment. Is that simple? And this is really an action-oriented group. We're not trying to create a document this big about what the plans are. There's lots of work, lots of good work out there. We're trying to move into the action to get it done. So to visualize what that action is, either on which side of the border could be determined, but the white spots here recommend places where we would have a mechanical trash capturing system that would capture the trash, anything bigger than a Coke can, before it got into the valley. Then the tan areas here on places where there would be spreading basins or sediment basins. There's already one in Goat Canyon. I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. Another one in Smuggler's Gulch would be desirable. And then something in the main channel somewhere in this area that would spread the sediment, allow us to capture it and utilize it. The black areas here, I don't know if you can see them on this, hopefully on the South Bay Water Reclamation Plant site or the IBWC property, a transfer station where the trash and sediment can be processed and beneficially reused to the degree possible. So what do we mean by trash capture devices? Off-the-shelf technology, like something that might be used in a wastewater facility. There would be some kind of a channel, whether it look like this or it look like that or look like this, don't know. Folks are working on that now. They would channel the water into a place where it went to a bar screen that might look something like that, with strong railroad tie size strength bars that would really stop everything, much like I said, Coke can. You can't see it, I'm sure, in the slide, but there's through each of those bars, the finger would go up every 2 to 3 minutes, lifting the trash up and putting it into a dumpster. And the idea is to just literally not let the trash get in the valley anymore. And potential bar screen locations, for those of you on the tour, got a sense of where the fence was. There's essentially like an earthen dam across the canyons in those two places, and there's culverts that now let the water come through. This is obviously already disturbed area. The closer we can get to this area to build those facilities, the least environmental work that has to be done, and the better chance we have of doing it in a more cost-effective way. John, I don't know if you want to jump in or any points on this or you want me to
keep rolling.
Okay. Sedimentation base, this is the one existing in Goat Canyon.
Going back to that, it would seem almost like some of this trash and stuff going to the recycling to the profit center. Who likely, what's the plan for that?
Absolutely. Let me get that one into the transfer station. Yeah, good question. Sedimentation basins. This is in Goat Canyon. A successfully operating one already. It captures the sediment. There still aren't fully implemented plans on how to move that sediment out, but to go to your question on that, sediment has value. In San Diego, there's a shortage of aggregate. We're already barging it up from Mexico and taking it to the port to try to do our building. Here's a source of it here that some folks say is construction quality aggregate that might be used, John.
Yeah. One comment on the sediment basins. Quite frequently when engineers design sediment basins, they can operate for maybe 4 or 5 years or even longer than that. Unfortunately, with the catchment and the size of this area, these sediment basins will have to be emptied almost after every storm, certainly annually, because they fill up very quickly. So part of the problem isn't just building a sediment basin, it's then having the ability of O&M to clean it out continuously to keep the maximum freeboard in place at all times. And that applies to all 3 of these sites that Carl's talking about.
I think we have a buyer here. Our builder of freeway.
It's great to have an engineer for a partner. So anyway, in this case, the sediment is stacked up here and sorted, but as I said, there's potentially a market for an aggregate market. There's also potentially used as beach sand, which is pretty darn adjacent to right here. But there's issues about that have to be resolved, but tests are underway to take a look at that. And then a transfer station, to answer your question, Secretary. Clean, sort, recycle, and dispose of the trash so that we can figure out how to beneficially reuse it. The same with the sediment. And we learned a lot today talking with the Spencer Brown, who sees all of this as a raw material to make new products, and we'll hope to talk to him some more. So it could be beach sand that have commercial value, and it would be a central location somewhere along Monument Road. Ideally, we could use the water reclamation plant there. We could use the water reclamation plant to clean it and to be able to return the water to the IBWC plant for treatment. So we're bringing all the agencies in doing the role that they actually do. One of the one of the pieces that John talked about as we developed this was, let's not ask any agency to do something beyond what that agency is normally do. We sometimes get into places where we say, well, why don't you do it, or why don't you do it? You should do it. It's beyond their responsibility. But what we want to do is say, what is your responsibility? If you don't have the resources to do it, how can we work together to help you get the resources to do what we already know you want to do and are responsible to do, rather than blaming you for not doing it? So we're organized into 4 action teams. These have discrete responsibilities. The border action team is the stop team at the border, trash and sediment. Stop it. Cleanup action team gets rid of the historical stuff that's accumulated. The restoration action team imagines the future of this valley and how it might be restored. And I haven't talked about it really yet, but the Binational action team works on abating at the source, developing relationships with the agencies in Mexico so that we can work together in tandem with them to solve this international problem. And it's guided, as John told you, by a policy committee. Right now, who is, let's see, who's here? Before the recovery committee, right, let me go around. MBQ's certainly been active. We've got Clay Phillips, who's co-chair of Restoration. Jonathan, Jeff Crooks is the co-chair of Restoration. We've got Doug, Steve Smullins, IBWC is on the border team. Where's Tony? Is Tony still here?
No, Tony.
Tony's the chair of the, who else do we have back there? What's that? Oh, yeah. So I couldn't see behind that head right there. Anyway, so we've got a great group of folks. And with each one of the discrete action, the border action team is to develop and implement solutions in the immediate vicinity of the border. Tony and Steve as co-chairs. Cleanup, to identify, map, characterize, and clean up the trash that are in the valley in an environmentally sensitive way. Again, with the county and the regional board co-chairing. The restoration action team to imagine, plan, coordinate, implement the restoration, mitigation, and flood control features of the valley from the border to the ocean. Again, Jeff and Clay. And a new twist to this is, and certainly water's on everybody's mind these days, there is a San Diego Formation aquifer here. A subset of that is the Lower Tijuana River Valley Basin, which has been contaminated over the years to some degree. There's potential to use that as a conjunctive, for conjunctive use and clean that basin up and utilize that water in a beneficial way. And the Binational Action Team, where's Oscar? I thought Oscar was here, no? He's still in the other room. Oscar Romo is the chair of our Binational group, along with Nicholas Surjan from the Cal EPA. And again, to identify the trash and sediment in the valley and to recommend and establish and implement a plan to abate and manage these sources and cooperate with Mexican agencies. And I have to say, I was invited to a Border 12 Water Committee meeting here just several weeks ago by Oscar, and I thought, well, it's a nice perfunctory presentation and just let them know what it's doing. And the folks from the City of Tijuana and Development raised their hand and said, we want to be the first ones on your team. IBWC Mexican section said the same thing. SEFTI said the same thing. And so with Oscar's help and our Binational Committee's work, hopefully we'll have a strong cross-border element with this. And John and I chair the policy committee. And the organizations involved, I don't know where you can see this list, they're small, but there's more than 30 agencies involved. And some successes to date. It's always good to start off on the right foot. We've got a $100,000 characterization study thanks to the California Integrated Waste Management Board. They've given another $250,000 to implement and operate trash nets in Boat Canyon so we can do some testing of how that might work. And discussions with Tijuana officials regarding opportunities have already started. What's next? We've got an application at June meeting, John, for
June
$700,000
1st.
for the Water Resources Board to help continue the work in the cleanup focus and to really figure out what we need to do there. We've got an application for a NOAA grant. I'll talk about that in a minute. We're researching additional multi-million funding opportunities with other agencies, and the policy committee is doing that, and we continue to recognize that together we can accomplish more. And this is the projects in development. I won't go through all of those, but those are just some of the projects in development. I'll focus more on the NOAA grant, which is about $9.5 million. It's a stimulus grant. It requires job creation. So we've got a $1.45 million to use the California Conservation Corps, maybe some of the other kinds of agencies like that, to literally go through the valley from the border to the ocean and pick up every piece of trash on the surface to find out what we have there, how much, what we can do with it, and by doing so we'll be putting people to work and learning a lot. Because a lot of this sediment this trash is buried in the sediment, so if we know what's on the surface, we can probably make a good estimation of what's down below.